Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma edition. Going to go through my thoughts, feelings on it, and just tell you whether I think it's worth buying. Little backstory, I've obviously reviewed tons and tons of controllers on my channel. I've had this one for quite some time, I've just never really gotten around to reviewing it, and now is the perfect time for me to have a little look at it. While you're here, don't forget to click that sub button if you do enjoy my content, leave a comment below, leave a like, do what you need to do. I won't waste any more of your time, let's get into it. This is the big brother or sister of the Razer Wolverine V2. I've been over that in a lot of detail, and I'll leave a note up here. I'll leave a little card up here so that you can go and watch that if you like. But the name suggests that this would just be basically the Razer Wolverine V2, but with some RGB added, some chroma. That couldn't be further from the truth, given the features that they've added into this. This thing is an absolute behemoth compared to the original V2, which is a little bit confusing, but it is an exciting prospect for those who are looking to get into the pro controller world. What I will do is I'll do a separate video comparing the V2 to the V2 Chroma, and I'll just do them in an absolute versus. I'm not going to turn that in this video into that. This will just be a specific breakdown of the Chroma and my thoughts on it and what it comes with and whether I think it's worth it. And then, yeah, I will do a separate video on a comparison between the two, because I think that's important to see like for like, given that the prices are at the moment similar, but when they are full priced, they're quite far apart. So what I like to do right off the bat is, for those that can't be asked watching me waffle and chat shit for 10 minutes, give a view on whether I think it's worth it or not. So is it worth it for the price, the features it comes with, the durability, all those things? I'm going to say if you're quite careful with your equipment, yes. If you're prepared to be careful with your equipment, then yes, it's definitely worth it, and it's a great jump into the pro controller world. Or an upgrade if you have got a different controller and you're thinking about getting this one. If you sometimes break stuff, and you maybe aren't the most careful person in the world, maybe not the one for you, potentially. I don't know. Obviously, it's worth noting that I'm not paid by Razer, I'm not sponsored, I paid for this with my own money. All the opinions are just my own and based on my experience and some of the Amazon reviews I've read and some of the other reviews I've seen from other YouTubers. So yeah, we'll start off with the price. So it's currently, as far as the UK Amazon goes, £107.99, discounted from £150. Pretty wild. Looking at the price history, this thing is all over the shop. It's went all the way from 200 to 80 quid to 100 to 150 to 160. It's all over the joint, but it seems to have settled slightly now, and it sits around that 100 quid mark. So you can expect it, if you look at it for that time, pay that. If you're waiting for a Black Friday sale, then you can expect to get it even cheaper. I think the cheapest that it's been on this price chart is 80 quid. If you manage to pick it up for somewhere around the 100 quid mark, I think the price is ridiculously good for the features that you get in comparison to controllers that cost much, much more, i.e. bullshit scuff controllers, for example. So this is a good, solid choice based on all the features it comes with. Obviously comes with all your standard Xbox style layout buttons, as well as 6 additional multifunction buttons that can be programmed to whatever you want them to be programmed to. You can set them up in different profiles for different games if you're using the back paddles for different stuff, if you're using the inside triggers for different things. You can switch between the profiles in the Razer controller app, and it makes it simple just to jump between them for games if you're using maybe jump and slide for FPS, and then you're using, I don't know, boost or whatever for Rocket League. It sounds like I only ever play 2 games, but I promise I do play more than that, even if I'm currently hooked on emulator Pokemon Emerald. You can download the Razer controller app from the Microsoft Store. It's quite intuitive, it's a decent app. Used it before on other controllers, relatively good. It has 4 back paddles and 2 inside triggers. The 4 back paddles, there's 2 slightly longer ones where it would be on your ring fingers, and then 2 slightly smaller ones that normally sit on your middle fingers. This is a similar one that's been seen in other controllers. Depending on your preference, sometimes the paddles can be sat a little bit further away. These ones are in the middle. You do have to have quite large fingers or large hands to be able to get them comfortably. And that's what I've read. It seems to be the general consensus. We've been over this before on my channel. I have massive hands. It is not an issue for me. But the way that they've gotten around that is that this is quite a small controller in general. So you should be able to reach them unless you have tiny, 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 tiny hands. The 2 inside triggers are my absolute favourite. This was the reason why I still loved the original V2 even if it didn't have the full back paddles. Those 2 are the most useful buttons in my opinion, and they're just super user-friendly for every game. Like if you're not just specifically playing COD, if you're playing other games, they're useful for things to just map those to them and have other use cases, because your fingers sit there and you need very little movement to move between here and here. You can literally keep the middle of your finger onto the trigger, and you can use the end of your finger onto that inside trigger. It's a lovely, lovely little feature. It does have the classic hair trigger stops, which when you flick these little buttons across, you'll see that it shortens the throw or lengthens the throw depending on what you're playing. It has interchangeable thumbsticks, which for me, I've always found a gimmick. Maybe it's because I'm not good enough at games to understand the differences you can make, but for me, it's always been a gimmick. In all the controllers I've had, I've never swapped them over. I've used kind of the Control Freak rings or whatever, but I've never seen the need to have longer ones. I tried them, they didn't really make a difference. I didn't like them. I just wanted to go back to the original ones that I was given in the first place. It is a wired controller, so it isn't a wireless option, but you should expect for most of these higher end controllers where you're wanting to go the Pro controller route, they are wired. It does come with a super long braided cable, which is really nice, and it is also USB-C powered. It doesn't have the latch like I've seen in some of the other controllers, like the Razer, where you'd put it in and it kind of clips in. It doesn't fall out by any stretch, but it just doesn't have clips either side to kind of really properly hold it in. I've not had any experience with it falling out, but yeah, is what it is. It has fully customizable RGB strips, which are a really nice feature to this. Obviously the one previous had two little green strips, but this one's fully customizable for you aesthetic heads out there. You can change it to whatever you want, and it is a lovely, lovely little feature, which is obviously classic to all of the Razer gear, updated in the Razer Chroma app. Comes with the standard rubber grips, which are amazing feeling. I've talked about this before, that they get stinky when I use them in my hands. They never used to, or the other controllers that I've used got stinky because of the rubber that they use on them, but this one didn't get that before you all start ripping me about my hands. This one didn't get stinky, which is good. It is 620 grams, which is, you know, kind of standard for controllers, but it does feel very light in the hands as well. And it has a standard headphone jack that you can plug in your headphones, mic, whatever you want to plug it in. Plug in it. Plug in it! Next up is look. It's a very nice looking controller. There's no getting away from that. Razer make very nice looking gear. I don't even think that's subjective. I don't even think that's up for debate. They make really nice looking gear. Logo's nice. It's always sleek looking. Made of nice materials in general. And yeah, it's a good looking piece of kit. If you are buying this for the look, and I feel like a lot of people will for the RGB specifically, the problem is that with it being wired, you can't use the RGB without it being wired, and if you're going to display it somewhere, like in a stand or whatever, you're going to have it plugged in if you want the RGB to be shown all the time. And I feel like that's a little bit shit. I know that that's like me picking, but I would prefer it to be able to just sit there lit up. I don't know, does anybody else feel that? Just me? It's just a thing for me. I'd like to have it sitting up and lit up without having to plug it in. I don't know how they'd even manage that. Separate battery, USB in the back or in the bottom where the headphone jack is, something to put it in a stand to keep it lit up all the time. I don't know, something like that would be useful, just for the nice aesthetic look that it would give. The look, it kept the best parts of the classic Xbox controller, just downsized a little bit and added Razer's sheen over the top of it, so nice looking bit of kit. Now, this one, durability. I seem to come to this every time I get Razer gear, but I'll always come back and buy it and buy it and buy it and buy it. So this one, thankfully, isn't as bad as some of the other ones I went through, like Tournament Edition, the original Razer Wolverine, and so on and so forth. However, there is one big part on this one, and before everybody comes at me, like, because this seems to happen in all the videos where I talk about durability, I spend a lot of money on this stuff, and therefore I would not want to break it. I take care of all of my stuff. It's just that maybe I'm rough with it, or maybe I don't know, but none of my other gear breaks. It's just Razer controllers. Like, the other stuff is fine. If you watch all my videos, I'll always give stuff good reviews where it is good. It's just that there always seems to be something goes wrong with these Razer controllers. Thankfully, this one, it's not enough for me to say to you not to go and buy it because it is very small. The back trigger in this one, right at the top, suddenly has a ton of play in it. It's going to be difficult for me to show you here, but this suddenly has a ton of play. And what that's meaning is that it's impossible to double click it should you choose to do that, because it just won't move. You press it and it doesn't register. You have to press it all the way in and it's just wiggly. I don't know why that is the case. It's just not a nice thing, you know? So I thought it was worth mentioning. The second thing is, and I mentioned this about the other Razer controllers that I had, the X button on this is sticky as well, and it's taken away a lot of the travel in it, so sometimes it won't register when you press it, but this was a similar thing I've seen on these tactile buttons in the past, and I think it's just build-up of debris underneath the controllers, so just something to smear to pay a small part of attention to. But those two things, in comparison to some of the other stuff that I've seen on the other controllers, is definitely not enough for me to say do not go and buy it by any stretch of the imagination. Those are very small issues and very much dealable with. I've experienced no stick drift on it at all, and that's kind of all on the durability front. It's good. It gets a tick, just apart from those couple of issues that I thought I would point out with a few hundred hours worth of playtime. So what are the pros? You get great features for the price, fantastic features for the price. You won't get more, apart from maybe the Victrix Gambit, which I keep on making reference to, that I still need to buy and review. Sub to the channel so I can make some money to go buy it. but it's light, amazing feel, great value, looks good, bang on, tick. The only real cons, it doesn't feel massively premium. I mean, it's made out of the classic plastic and rubber, but it just doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel massively premium. But then again, you're only paying 100, you're not paying 200, 250, whatever. So it doesn't feel massively premium, but if you were to buy it at the higher price point, you might feel a little bit short changed if you paid 150, 160 quid for it. That's just a note. Oh, pardon me. And also the D-pad is dog doo-doo. I don't know if anybody really uses a D-pad. It's not my thing. It's not my thing to use a D-pad. It's got the tactile clicks to it and stuff, but I don't know. It's guff. But D-pads, I don't know who really uses them. You're only using them for menus in RPG games or whatever, and maybe some stuff in COD or whatever. But nah, it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, it is dog doo-doo. And aside for that small durability issue that I mentioned, there isn't really much else to say on cons, which coming from me is quite a big deal. So I think if you're looking to upgrade or just make a jump into the pro controller world, this is a solid option for the price that you can get. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. I'll leave a link down below to Amazon to go and buy it should you wish to do that. If you've got any questions, comments, want to spark up a discussion, you want to see videos and anything else, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. It helps me massively if you do enjoy my content. I'll leave a couple of links to some other videos if you want to go look. And yes, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.